One of the most vocal voices on Fox News, Laura Ingraham is well known to millions of viewers. Shrewd, self-assured, and rarely gives up. Off-camera, however, her life has taken unexpected turns for many fans. The persona's backstory is significantly more nuanced than it seems, involving everything from severe health issues to family disputes and public criticism. What actually transpired with Laura Ingraham? There are several reasons why Laura Ingraham, the Fox News anchor of the Ingraham Angle and a long-standing conservative commentator, is unique. You may not be aware, though, that she struggled with a startling diagnosis years before. Her doctor discovered a lump in her breast during a routine physical examination, and in April, at the age of 41, she was diagnosed with early-stage invasive ductal carcinoma, a common but extremely aggressive form of breast cancer. Years later, Laura refers to herself as a breast cancer survivor rather than a survivor because she claims she was actively living her life rather than just enduring the illness. She views the event as a journey that helped her gain perspective on her life. She was going through a challenging personal period when she received her cancer diagnosis. The news of Laura's own illness was emotionally taxing because she had lost her mother to lung cancer a few years prior. Despite her disbelief, she went into her treatment with a strong will. She underwent 2 surgeries in a flash, and then 6 weeks of radiation and chemotherapy. After completing her last radiation treatment in October 2005, she returned to work the following year, and, in early 2006, even did a live news broadcast from Baghdad while her hair was still growing back. Laura stated that she prefers not to think about her experience with illness because she does not want it to define who she is or take precedence over her responsibilities as a mother and a broadcaster. Instead of being singled out because of their diagnosis, she added, many survivors simply want to resume their lives, their routines, and their relationships. She claims that her cancer diagnosis is still in the back of her mind and that she doesn't want to be made fun of or given negative attention since she had the disease. Laura's recovery was aided by her faith, family, and community. She acknowledged her close-knit group of friends, her strong religious beliefs, and the prayers and messages from people throughout the nation for supporting her during the course of her treatment. Despite overcoming the cancer diagnosis, she found it difficult, particularly as she had recently lost her mother to the same illness a few years prior. On a few times, Laura Ingraham has talked candidly about the death of her mother, which she has called one of the most difficult experiences of her life. 6 years before, to Laura's own diagnosis of breast cancer, her mother, Anne Caroline Ingraham, passed away from lung cancer in 1999. Laura was just starting her career and developing her individuality when she passed away. She acknowledged that the loss of her mother had a lasting impact on how she views faith, family, and resiliency. Laura previously admitted that dealing with her own cancer was far easier than witnessing her mother fight a deadly illness. She later revealed in public that losing her mother had given her important lessons about life's frailty and the value of cherishing the time spent with loved ones. Laura adds that she is relieved that her mother passed away years before her own health concern and that she did not have to worry about witnessing her daughter suffer from a major disease. This idea strikes her as poignant and poignant. Her life is greatly influenced by her mother. Laura frequently brings up the virtues her mother taught her, including work ethic, honesty, music, thrift, and a sense of humor. She claims that these teachings influenced not only her own character, but also the way she reared her own kids. In interviews, she spoke of the comforting recollections of her mother's practical advice and laughter, recalling little things like her mother's amusing greeting cards as sources of joy and solace long after her death. Laura has also discussed how the loss of her mother changed the way she views time and priorities. Music. She has stated that she strives to avoid letting unimportant things rule her life and instead concentrates on savoring special times with her family as a result of her loss and health issues. She frequently remarks to audiences and acquaintances on how fortunate people are to still have their mothers close by. Laura and her mother had a good relationship, but the same cannot be said for her brother, who is the subject of a public controversy that many people are aware of. What actually happened to Fox News's Laura Ingraham and her brother? In addition to coping with a fatal cancer diagnosis and a public political debate, Laura has been embroiled in a highly publicized argument with her elder brother Curtis Ingraham, which they continue to discuss on social media, as well as during interviews. It is now a major scandal instead of a private family issue. Deep ideological differences are the main reason of their dispute. Curtis is an out gay teacher in California who has been critical of Laura's conservative views and speech for encouraging hypocrisy and division. He called his sister a monster in a 2018 interview, claiming that she was more willing to destroy than to listen, and that she approached public issues destructively. He also disclosed that their father was violent and had extremist views, which contributed to their poor family history. He speculates that the rage she expresses now may have been influenced by her childhood. Curtis has frequently described himself as a sibling fact-checker on Twitter. He frequently criticizes Laura's posts and urges sponsors to stop supporting her program. His tweets consistently focus on her reactions to delicate subjects, such as public health figures, immigration laws, and gun violence advocacy. He also referred to her criticism of Dr. Anthony Fauci's COVID-19 coverage as pitiful. Their relationship wasn't always so horrible, which surprised me. After seeing the dignity, faithfulness, and bravery with which her brother Curtis and his partner handled the latter's AIDS diagnosis, Laura Ingraham stated in a 1997 Washington Post column that she had a new perspective on homosexuality. However, Curtis subsequently claimed that as her Fox News career developed, she shifted away from all those supportive viewpoints and toward conservatism. This gave him the impression that everything she had said before was a lie. He has even claimed that her show is divisive and referred to her as a racist and Nazi sympathizer. He claims that she prioritizes her income over global welfare. Laura has responded to her brother's remarks in a controlled manner. She released a statement after some of his harshest comments. expressing her sadness that her brother would post damaging and incorrect information online. According to Laura, Curtis's comments also stunned her other siblings. However, Laura Ingraham is being accused by more people than only Curtis. Many people have been criticizing and condemning her on social media after she made a number of startling remarks. The long-standing host of the Ingraham Angle on Fox News, Laura Ingraham, provoked a backlash in 2025 following a segment in which she disparaged younger Americans, particularly Gen Z. She stated that they weren't concentrating on getting married and starting a family. Laura's comments on the show focused on the low ranking of marriage and child-rearing among those younger people, highlighting findings from a recent NBC News study that reveals variations in how younger people prioritize life goals. Priorities. She questioned why marriage and having children seemed less important to the larger Gen Z notion of success, and compared this with what she claimed were better rankings for young conservative men. Laura's comments were included in a broader conversation about the cultural and demographic shifts occurring in the United States, including shifting perspectives on fertility rates and family arrangements. She also expressed concern that the falling marriage and birth rates would have wider societal repercussions. However, several viewers and pundits have pointed out a significant inconsistency in her critique. Laura has never been married, so it's really hilarious that she says this. At the age of 62, she is a single mother who adopted her 3 children while she was in her 40s. She did not rely on a conventional marriage to build her family. Many claim that she is acting hypocritically, and that many members of Generation Z today share her life path, which was characterized by a prosperous career and subsequent adoption. As a result, her remarks drew criticism right away. However, Laura's decision to forego marriage and adopt 3 impoverished children garnered a lot of attention prior to this startling controversy. One of the most distinctive features of Laura's life is that she is a single mother, which contrasts sharply with the conventional family model she advocates on her Fox News show. Laura has always kept her personal relationships private and has openly acknowledged that she has never been married. Music. In spite of this, she acquired 3 children through international adoption and has raised them largely out of the public eye. When Maria Caroline was around 3 years old in 2008, Laura adopted her first child, a daughter from Guatemala. Later, when they were each about a year old, she adopted 2 kids from Russia, Nikolai Peter in 2011 and Michael Dmitry in 2009. Laura was already well established in her media career at the time of her adoptions. Instead of making a big statement, she was dedicated to being a mother. Laura has discussed adoption as a profession with a foundation in empathy and accountability. She stated that adoption should prioritize the welfare of children before political factors, stating in interviews that the children should not be viewed as commodities and that adoption should be primarily about the children. Regardless of her marital status, she chose to adopt because she wanted to become a mother and give children in need a stable home. Laura Ingraham has acknowledged that having 3 children is both her biggest difficulty and her greatest joy. Despite the fact that juggling the demands of a prominent career with being a single mom has not been simple. She has talked about being proud of her kids' development and measuring their progress from school to more general goals. Although Laura occasionally talks about their family life, she has kept her boys Michael and Nikolai mostly out of the spotlight due to her wish to safeguard their privacy. Her daughter Maria is now a young adult. Laura's path from single parenting to adoption has been rewarding and difficult, influencing not just her family life, but also her views on adoption and families. At a time when certain nations, particularly Russia, were tightening restrictions on international adoptions, adopting all three of her children involved navigating complicated international systems, talky, music. As a result, her last two adoptions were very challenging and emotionally draining. According to Laura, she knew going into the adoption process how difficult it would be. Adoption by single parents is prohibited in several countries. The governmental process may be too daunting for birth moms, who frequently prefer two-parent households. She has been open about the challenges, stating that there were too many highs and lows in the process to even recall, and that the safety of the children should be the sole focus of successful adoption rather than political or ideological goals. Laura added that it was challenging to juggle parenthood with her own busy media work after she brought her kids home. She has said that being a single parent has been the most difficult thing she has ever had to do. She also had to be present for bedtime routines, homework, and family life, even though she was financially secure. Laura's parenting approach has also demonstrated a combination of presence, discipline, and purposeful bonding. In order to keep her kids emotionally strong, she frequently shields them from the limelight and makes it a nightly ritual for them to share something good that happened throughout the day. However, she continues to be strict when it matters, prohibiting her kids from using smartphones prior to high school. She has argued for flip phones to be used for emergency and safety communication with kids, followed by smartphones. Laura also concentrates on upholding smartphone usage regulations. Laura Ingraham has a bit of a dating history, but she has never been married despite adopting 3 children. Laura Ingraham has been conservative for a long time, has kept a lot of her personal life private, and has never disclosed a marriage or committed relationship in her adult life. She dated fellow conservative commentator Desh D'Souza during her time at Dartmouth College, which is one of her early documented love engagements. According to reports, the two were serious and even engaged at one point in the early 1980s, bonding over politics and common goals. However, they called off the engagement before getting married, and they stayed friends for the ensuing decades. In 2014, Laura wrote a letter supporting D'Souza during his legal issues. Given their starkly different opinions, Laura was romantically involved with liberal columnist Keith Olbermann in the late 1990s. However, their relationship was short-lived, and neither of them acknowledged it in public. Rumors circulated at the same time that she was seeing Robert Torricelli, a former Democratic senator. When Laura became engaged to James V. Reyes, a businessman she met on a blind date, In 2005, it was the most well-known phase of her dating life. The pair had intended to tie the knot that spring, but Laura's life took a sharp change when she received a breast cancer diagnosis. The engagement was canceled as she concentrated on her rehabilitation and treatment. After that, she made the decision to put more of an emphasis on healing than getting married. Following her recuperation, Laura never again sought marriage. Rather, she concentrated on motherhood and adoption, adopting her 3 Russian and Guatemalan children. Her personal life became centered around raising her 3 children as a single mother. She has also stated that she finds fulfillment in her work and family, negating the need for marriage. As a media celebrity, she also has a busy schedule that includes writing, public appearances, radio, and nightly television activities. As a result, she is now more autonomous and has less space for committed love relationships. In the meantime, Laura has had a number of scandals in both her personal and professional life, particularly due to her endorsement of the highly criticized Great Replacement idea. The Great Replacement idea, a far-right conspiracy with roots in white nationalism, has drawn a lot of attention due to Laura Ingraham's remark on demographic change in the United States. Thought, according to the flawed and contentious Great Replacement theory, elite goals, immigration policies, and demographic trends are purposefully replacing white people in Western countries with non-white immigrants. Laura has cautioned on her Fox News show that immigration and political strategy are to blame for the drastic demographic shifts that Americans are being forced to endure against their will. She once claimed that many areas of the nation don't feel like the America we know and love, attributing these changes to both legal and illegal immigration, and implying that the population didn't like or choose them. This is more akin to white nationalist ideology, according to critics. Her framing and phrasing have drawn criticism from numerous watchdog organizations and commentators. Furthermore, these are political rhetoric, music akin to the Great Replacement narrative, rather than merely impartial demographic observations. She frequently compares immigration to an invasion and claims that newly naturalized citizens or immigrants are displacing current voters. These have received a lot of unfavorable attention. Laura's remarks have also resulted in some advertisers boycotting her. After making fun of Parkland massacre survivor and gun control activist David Hogg on Twitter in 2018, Laura Ingraham was subjected to one of the largest advertiser boycotts of her career. Regarding Hogg's college rejection letters, Ingraham tweeted, "He whines about being turned down by several schools. Many people interpreted this as a jab at a teenager who was still grieving the death of peers in the tragedy." In response, Hogg asked his supporters to get in touch with businesses that use the Ingraham angle in their advertisements and request that they withdraw their support. Many large advertisers declared within days that they would no longer purchase ad time on her program. Laura publicly apologized in reaction to the pressure and the loss of sponsors. Hogg, however, claimed that she didn't act out of real regret, but rather solely because she lost advertisements. At the height of the boycott, the show's advertising rates fell sharply, and about 27 sponsors severed their ties with it. when Laura sparked more criticism and another wave of advertisers departed in 2019, the controversy resurfaced. Music. Her performance featured a visual of controversial personalities, including Paul Nehlen, a well-known white supremacist and anti-Semitic personality, whose voices were blocked on social media. One advertiser withdrew its support from her show after viewers and watchdogs criticized it for seemingly defending or legalizing an extreme. Fox News defended the Ingraham piece, claiming the image was intended to draw attention to censorship issues rather than to glorify extreme viewpoints. However, Laura had yet another issue when she made a comment against a well-known athlete that enraged viewers and admirers. When NBA player LeBron James and teammate Kevin Durant publicly discussed U.S. politics and criticized then-President Donald Trump in February 2018, Laura Ingraham provoked harsh criticism by telling James to stop talking and dribble. "Must they run their mouths like that? Shut up and dribble," she said in part on her Fox News show, The Ingraham Angle, advocating that professional athletes who make millions of dollars from their sport should keep the political criticism to themselves and focus on hoops. Given James and Durant's status as black players who comment on racial and social justice issues, the comments at 1835 are perceived as disrespectful of athletes' voices in public discourse. The reaction was swift and extensive. In a public response, LeBron James stated that he would not confine his voice to sports. He said, "I will not just shut up and dribble. I mean too much to society. I mean too much to the youth. The hashtag we will not shut up and dribble soon went viral on social media." And he used the occasion to highlight that athletes can participate in politics. Laura's statement was criticized by many, including other NBA players, as being racially insensitive and a type of dog whistle commentary that suggested black athletes should keep to themselves rather than discussing national issues. Do you know what actually transpired with the well-known Fox News pundit Laura Ingraham? Which aspect of Laura's life, from receiving a cancer diagnosis to adopting children, surprised you the most? Please share your opinions in the comments section. We appreciate you watching this video, and we'll see you in the next one.